All God can do is love. That is who God is. God is tender love. During these past days, past weeks, we have seen crisis. We have seen so much crisis with this pandemic, and then crisis in our streets. A crisis revealing something perhaps so many people just didn't want to face up to. The kind of division that racism has created. But in this crisis, there is also, of course, opportunity. The opportunity is to tell our values as followers of Jesus. This gospel that no one is ever excluded, that Jesus came to embrace all people. This is a wonderful message we have as followers of Jesus. We need to share it. We need to share it with the whole world. This message will bring the peace that we need. And now, Ruben Quatrona. St. Paul. St. Paul wrote a letter, and it's called A Letter to the Romans. It's not a very long book. In the 5th chapter, Paul writes, "Suffering produces endurance. Endurance produces character, and character produces hope." The first thing he wrote is, suffering produces endurance. Well, I thought he couldn't be talking about everybody. I know people who have suffered and they have given up. It's true, some people do find endurance in their suffering, while other people give up. Why? Why do some not find endurance? Why do some give up? It has to do with mental attitude. If when we experience suffering, our response is just to complain about how difficult it is, and it can be so difficult, suffering. But if our only response is to complain, then we will give up. But if instead we say to ourselves, there must be something I can learn in all of this. If we do that, then the suffering produces an endurance. And then Paul continued, endurance produces character. You know, each one of us, people around us, are giving us a test about our character. Will we pass the test? How we approach things will determine if we will pass the test. Because you see, if we turn negative about everything, then we won't pass the test. If we become negative about everything, then that colors the way we see life and colors the way we see other people. But we will pass the test if people look at us and say, that's a good person. We'll pass the test if we are people of integrity, if we are responsible, and if we care about others. Then we will pass the test because people will look at us and say, I can trust that person. I can trust that person because they have a good character. And then Paul finally says, character produces hope. Hope. We can have hope. We can have hope when we decide. That's a decision we have to make. It comes not because of the outer things, it becomes because we make that decision. And the decision is if we will decide to grow. If we decide to grow in life, then we will find hope. If we decide to grow, no matter what the circumstances are around us, then something happens to us. We begin then to see not life as something to be avoided because of its sufferings. Instead, we find that we can grow because there are new adventures in life. It has to do with mental attitude. Our attitude will determine our experience. God wants to give us a wonderful experience in life. Value yourself. Jesus does. Jesus values you so much. He values your life so much that he risked his life for you. And he did this because he loves you. And then Paul says, finally, we can share in the glory of God. What that means is that God wants to reveal all that God is to you. And to share in the glory of God means that we can perceive and know God. God wants you to enter into a relationship, a trusting relationship. God wants to give you all the love that God has and all that God is. Open your heart to God's love. Receive the wonderful adventure God has for you in your life.